With everything we've heard about the Cleveland Browns, Domonique, I'm going to start with you on this one. Is coaching this Browns team a desirable job?
It's not a job that I would want, and it's not a job that I think any smart coach would want. So, like, put aside the players. I think the talent, we often focus heavily on the talent and the quarterback in particular on a roster and think it's an attractive job. I think all those things are true. It's a very talented roster, and I think the quarterback, with the right protection and the right coaching staff, I think the quarterback can be good, above average. But put all that aside, the organization is dysfunctional. It wasn't too long ago when Seth Wickersham had that piece that kind of exposed how bad this organization was, where things like that were coming out not only were on big giant screens in front of everyone in the organization, where they searching for porn. Not only did he call Sashi Brown, who's a smart young general manager, he nicknamed him Obama. Like, these are things that were taking place in the organization. That's the organization you're walking into. They at one point brought in a team pastor who had workplace issues, who had been accused of workplace issues with women in the past. Like, this is just off the field stuff. This is an organization. I got a long list of all this. I don't want to depress you, so maybe I should stop. But all that aside, I mean, you've got to put that into the forefront, because we often just think that that winning is a product of putting together a good scheme and having good players. Also, Jimmy Haslam decided that he was going to draft Johnny Manziel. We all know why. Because a homeless man told him to. Let's not forget that his company, Flying J, was facing federal charges. Like, if you are in your right mind and you are an exciting young head coach, I know you get all excited, you get all tingly when you look at Baker and you look at Odell, you look at Myles Garrett, and you look at the corners that they have out there and Denzel Ward. Like, you think, oh, this is nice. Then you have to walk in and look up at who's running the organization, and you can't have a ton of confidence in that. How many times has he fired people? He fired Joe Banner without giving him a reason, and then promoted Ray Farmer without an interview. Like, what are we doing? I don't know. He hasn't changed. And then in that video, he said, I'm sorry, I'm ranting now, guys. I'm sorry, but this is frustrating to me. And then in that video, he said that he was proud of, I don't remember exact framing, but he suggested that in the past, they have done a haphazard job of searching for coaches. He said the process has been bad. But he said last time we did better.
Lack discipline in
last time we did better.
That's the problem is.
Last time we did better.
You can't say that, because you ultimately end up with a coach that you fired after one season. Like, that is where you lose me. But there's four components I look at, and you talked about it. You got a good quarterback, I think, young. Need to coach him up a little bit. Right. Good roster. People, one thing that they don't look at very often is the division. And so you got aging Ben Roethlisberger, Cincinnati that's retooling. Now you have Lamar Jackson, the Ravens. They're going to be there. But I'd rather have faced one team than two or three other elite teams. But then you go to the organization. And so you mentioned all of those things, Domonique, and all of those things are true, and they sound terrible, and who would want to get into that? The one thing I will say with that is it looks like they've kind of cleaned house on most of this. I don't know if they've cleaned it all up. But
he's still there.
As a head coach, he's always going to be there because he's the owner.
I don't know how old he is, but his hair is gray. I don't think he's changing. He's still there.
He's not. You know, old folks, they're not changing. Yeah, he's set in his ways.
He's not going anywhere.
But here's the one thing that is good. If I'm the head coach, so oftentimes you get married with a general manager that you might not agree with. Yeah. He might have a different idea of how the team could run. He might like tall defensive backs, Domonique. And you know what
you trying to say?
The coach like, no, I like Domonique. He's like, no, too bad. We're getting rid of him. We want a tall guy, even if I don't think he fits our scheme.
5'11" and a half, man. That's kind of. Anyway, go ahead.
But they'll have different ideas of players at different positions and what they think is a scheme fit versus what the coach is a scheme fit. So at least you're telling me, I'm coming in here, I'm a young head coach, and I'm going to be able to look at this and say, okay, I get to be involved in the hiring process of the general manager. Yeah. I'm going to get a guy that we're tied together. They're tethered, because he said, now, you're not firing one of the guys next time. You're both getting fired together. It's a tandem jump.
I absolutely want to be fair to the Browns organization. I've been in 3 different NFL organizations, and I could cherry pick 1 or 2 stories that people will be surprised that took place in those organizations. However, I cannot do all of this. On the big screen in the building where everyone walks in and sees, they had an array of porn searches on social media sites. Like, what is you doing? I can't work there.
Can we check your cookies?
But I would be smart enough, at least, not to do anything untoward on my work computer and not project it on the screen. Like, that's awful. And then he called that man Obama. Like, that's so degrading and disrespectful.
Well, I guess what the real question is, or the topic is it a desirable job? I think, that's a two-part question. One, is it a great opportunity for any young coach? I think it is. When you think about what you're inheriting, the hardest thing to find is a quarterback. I think they have a franchise quarterback. They have a great roster. You look at what John Dorsey was able to do in a short period of time with all the picks that he got from Sashi Brown to be able to really get depth at so many different positions.
They fired him.
I understand that. They have top elite guys, but also, when you talk about, being able to have the marriage between the general manager and the head coach, like we saw happen in what we thought was a dysfunctional organization with the 49ers. He brought in Kyle Shanahan. That wasn't a desirable job. They brought in John Lynch. They're married with each other. What that ensures is that you're not going to have the backstabbing, guys going around
it's
each
possible,
other.
but you still will have that backstabbing. It's possible that they could have success next year, but you're not going to have long-term success like that because you brought up Dorsey filling up the war chest essentially with talented players.
Yeah.
They fired him, and the speculation is because DePodesta kind of went around and talked about it. He's still there. This is an organization that, or at least Jimmy Haslam has set it up so that he allows and possibly encourages guys to go around each other's back and kind of do this Game of Thrones thing. I don't want to be there.
I'm glad you went with the Game of Thrones because that's exactly what it has been there. But when they say both of these guys
Cards,
now,
it's been all of
both
that.
of these guys are going to report to Haslam now, and they're going to come in the room together. It's going to be, when your dad brings you in and your brother, and you look like what happened. You guys have to explain this together. I'm not going to let one guy talk behind the other, and this is how it's going to be.
I got many a whoopings because I wouldn't snitch on my brother, but I'm quite familiar with that.
100% of what it's going to take. So these guys are in lockstep. So DePodesta, he's going to be involved in this, but I don't think he's going to have a say over what goes on a lot with the football. But when it comes down to, is it a desirable job? Look at the jobs that are out there. Dallas Cowboys, obviously that. You've got Carolina, you've got the Giants. Dallas is the only one I would look at and say probably a little more desirable, but they have their own issues that you're going to have to deal with the management as well. So even if you had your pick, this is probably the best one.
That's why I think this is a perfect position and perfect location for Mike McCarthy, somebody that can do that dual role where he's not going to fire himself. He's not going to tell on himself.
Thank you so much for watching ESPN on YouTube.
For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app.
And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.